Creating an event is one of the most important steps when building your evaluation. Once your event is created, it will automatically appear in the SkillShark app. If you're on a paid account, you'll have access to unlimited events. Having unlimited events allows you to assess players multiple times a year if you choose. This helps coaches know where players are at mentally and physically throughout the season. Okay, let's create your first event. Make sure you've selected Events from the left-hand navigation. From here, we're going to click Add New. You'll have the option to select a tryout camp showcase, team evaluation, or a self-assessment. Since we're evaluating a large group, we will select Tryout Camp Showcase. Now, go ahead and name your event. Make sure you input the start date and time. If you have a camp spanning multiple days, we recommend putting an end date. If you need to hide player names or positions from evaluators, you may do so here. The next step is inviting evaluators. Simply type the evaluator's email and click Add to Event. Then make sure you check off all the boxes for the evaluators you wish to invite. After you hit Continue, you'll be asked if you would like to notify evaluators, or continue on. We usually like to inform evaluators, especially if they are new, so we're going to select Send Emails. Any new evaluators will be sent an email with instructions on how to get started. We're now ready to add players. Since we only want to evaluate our U11 players, and we've created a list for each age group, we're going to select specific player lists, selecting our U11 list and hitting Continue. You can now see your event from the dashboard. Please note, you can edit your event at any time, meaning if you need to add more players or evaluators, you can easily do so. The three dots to the right give you the ability to export player data to Excel, or duplicate your event. You also have the ability to score players by simply clicking Evaluate from the event. If you'd like to lock your event to limit any changes after an evaluation, simply hit the toggle beside the lock icon.
Before we take a look at our spreadsheet and import it, there's a couple things we might want to look at first. Go down here to Group Settings and take a look at Custom Fields. There may be columns on our spreadsheet that we want to bring in or unique pieces of information. For example, I might want to know which kids have a parent that's willing to coach. I might want to bring in a field that identifies what age group the kid is in. I can add as many of these custom fields really as I need. When I'm ready to import, I go here to the Players Manage Players page and I would click Import. Let's take a look at our spreadsheet before we actually import it. So here's our spreadsheet and we've got multiple columns here. It does not matter what order the columns are in. You just need to make sure that there's no locked cells. For example, a cell that's centered or merged over multiple columns, that there's no empty rows, there's no gaps in the data, no empty columns, that kind of thing. Some of the things that I'll point out on the spreadsheet is we have a column called goalie and a column called positional that lines up with the categories that we had in our template in SkillShark. And all I need to do is identify with an X what category the kid is trying out for. It'll automatically assign the kid to the appropriate category. The other key column here is time trials. They might be starting off in different time trials to begin with. In this case, we've got multiple U13 groups. In this case, we're going to tie this to a list in SkillShark. So just by tying this column to a list, it's automatically going to tag kids to list based on the data in that column. When the kids register, they would have had a drop-down selection as to what they're trying out for. So all you need to make sure is your registration choices here line up with the preferred choices that we have in our evaluation settings, the preferred choices there. We're ready to import the spreadsheet. We're going to go to the Players page, Manage Players, click on Import. We're bringing it in from a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet that we're bringing in is that one. Any column that we understand what you're describing in it, we automatically data map with a green check mark saying, okay, if you have a column called bib number, that's likely jersey number in SkillShark. Color is color. Parent coach, we're going to tie that to that custom field that we had called parent coach. Age is going to be tied to the custom field called age. Time trials, to identify what the kid's first skate is going to be in, we're going to tie that to a player list. So it's automatically going to create a player list from the information in that column. The goalie column is going to be tagged to the goalie category, and positional is tied to the positional category. When I hit continue and continue, I could automatically assign kids to extra list based on their year of birth. Here's my list of kids born in 2015, etc. But in our case, We're not going to do that. I'll hit import. All these kids get imported into SkillShark. And as you can see here, they automatically get tagged to the list based on the data that was in that time trials column. All the kids are properly tagged to their appropriate categories of which ones are positional players, which ones are goalies. And if they're also tied to that U13, I had 3 ages on this sheet. If I wanted to see only my U13 kids, I could see that and then tag them to a list if I wanted to. So multiple ways to sort and filter kids very quickly, making your tryouts even easier than they ever have been before.
Okay, let's get started with our template. Select Evaluation Settings from the left navbar. Then select Evaluation Template. You'll notice 3 categories to the left: Catcher, Fielding, Pitching. The plus arrow beside Categories allows you to easily add whatever categories you like. For example, you might have more than one positional category if you evaluate positions differently. The category Fielding Positions, for example, would be scored and evaluated differently than pitchers and catchers. We're going to start with the category Fielding. Let's select the character Metrics. Now, click on the metric you would like to edit or view. We can see this score is subjective between 0 and 10, and both the increment and the subjective rating can be changed. Select Preview to see what it will look like to evaluators. Now click Save. If for some reason you wanted to delete the metric, you would click on the 3 dots to the right of each metric. To add a new metric, simply select Add Metric. Another character metric might be something like communication. Keep in mind, the metric you add should align with the skill grouping. For example, we might add something like 40-yard dashed speed. We're going to go ahead and add this new metric. Since we are scoring this only once, we will select Single Score. Go ahead and select Seconds for the unit. This will initiate the stopwatch. If you're scoring more than once, you simply select Type and change it to Multi-Score. You can go to the preview and see the change and select Save. Please note, your new custom template will appear in the SkillShark app as soon as you create your first event. If you change or delete metrics after an evaluation, you will delete any data connected to that metric. However, if you add skills and metrics to your template, they will show up in later reports as the scores are collected.